I was just going to do a bit of an overview of Dundee Citizens Advice Bureau, what kind of support we can offer at the moment. If you have any questions throughout or at the end, just stop me and I can go through that. At the moment, I don't know if anyone recalls our service before COVID, but we used to have a drop-in service in the Wellgate. It's changed slightly, so as I mentioned to Claire, we're just wanting to let everyone know how our service is running now. So our main office, we're in the Wellgate Centre, you know, in the library at the top of the Wellgate. So we have mainly an appointment-based system at the moment and a callback system. So I popped on here, you can call our triage team Monday to Friday between 10 and 4, just to arrange either, as I say, a callback or an appointment, and that can be a telephone appointment, we can do a face-to-face appointment, or we can also do home visits. So if someone's not able to get out and see us, we can also get a home visit arranged as well. We can also give email advice if someone would struggle on the phone or has maybe not got time during the day. We might need to get a bit more information from people, but we can do email advice as well if needed. And we've also got on our website, we do have a public section that leads to Citizens Advice Scotland, where there's lots of advice there if you're wanting to search online for something, if you think it's just, you know, something that you can realistically check yourselves, or as I say, you can always get in touch with us as well. This, as I say, just sort of summarises what I've mentioned there. That's the citizensadvice.org Scotland is the website if anyone's wanting to check any specific topics themselves. I mentioned our offices in the Wellgate. We do, though, have a couple of drop-in services throughout Dundee as well. So I don't know if anyone knows the Brooksbank Centre in Lunlathen, sort of mid-Craig area. We're there on a Tuesday, I think between 10 and 3, one of my colleagues goes along. So that's just a drop-in, just to deal with, I think he's mostly dealing with energy stuff, but you can drop in about any sort of inquiry. We've also got a drop-in at the Food Bank, which is on Albert Street, on a Thursday afternoon as well. One of my colleagues goes along to that. Again, it doesn't have to be about specifically a food bank voucher. It can be about any sort of query there. We've also got links with the Yorkshire Building Society. That is appointment only, that one, but if anyone banks with Yorkshire Building Society, you can arrange an appointment through them for us as well. So just something to bear in mind. We are looking at a couple of more drop-ins, but that's what we've got available at the moment. So the Brooksbank's a Tuesday, Food Bank's Thursday afternoon, and then Yorkshire Building Society's appointment arranged on a Tuesday as well. I've just sort of summarised here, this is the kind of advice topics that we can actually advise on. So a lot of, I'd say primarily it's, we do a lot of energy, welfare benefits and debt as well is probably our biggest 3 advice topics that we see people come to our service about. But we can also advise on all the others, especially get a lot of inquiries about employment, immigration, health, and a lot about the legal system as well. So we normally just clarify, we can advise people about the legal system up to a point, but we're not legally trained, so we can't give you legal advice. We can advise on the legal system up to, as I say, the ins and outs of that, what action you can take, but we can't unfortunately provide legal advice. So that's where our sort of limit with that one ends. So the carer support payment has been taken over by Social Security Scotland rather than the Department for Work and Pensions now. Again, I don't know if anyone will receive any current benefits from Social Security Scotland, but this benefit, carers allowance, is now devolved to them. This was the information that we'd had at a stakeholder event with them that Social Security Scotland had provided us. When I'd done this presentation, it was before this week. So I put that the pilots from November has started in Dundee as of this week. So what that means, if any of you are currently on carers allowance, you will eventually be switched over to this new carer support payment. You won't need to do anything, we've been advised as such. Social Security Scotland will liaise with the DWP and they will transfer you from carers allowance to the carers support payment. So rather than getting your payment from the DWP, it will then change over to Social Security Scotland. Dundee City, Perth and Kinross in the Western Isles, we are one of the pilot areas for it. So what that means is, as of this week, if you've got a person claiming carers or wanting to claim carers allowance, they would now be directed to claim the carer support payment through Social Security Scotland. We've been advised, we don't have a specific date, but Social Security Scotland have said they will begin to start transferring cases from carers allowance to this payment in February next year. We don't have any further information on specific dates, how many they're doing at a time. But as I say, should all happen in the background and there shouldn't be any interruption with current payments, payment amount, that sort of thing should all stay the same. So there shouldn't be any issues for people who are currently receiving carers allowance. And then if you're not in the Dundee area, say you're maybe close by but you're Angus or something like that, they'll be rolling out applications again from next year at some point for that. So if you're not within Dundee, Perth and Kinross, the Western Isles, you will still claim carers allowance. It's just these 3 pilot areas just now. There is a little bit of a change in eligibility to the carer support payment. A lot of the eligibility is still the same, which we've listed here, and I'll go into in a wee second some of the changes. It's mainly relating to students and some residence tests, but generally speaking, the general criteria is you've got to be 16 or older. You need to meet residence requirements. So typically if you live in Scotland or a common travel area for a certain amount of time, you might be eligible. We would normally check everyone's individual circumstances surrounding residence to check if they're entitled. You must meet requirements of regular and substantial care. So typically that's if you're caring for someone more than 35 hours a week, you meet that criteria. So that's the same in respects to carers allowance as well. And the person that you're caring for also must be in receipt of one of the qualifying disability benefits. So again, that's the same. So it could be PIP, DLA, adult disability payment, child disability payment, attendance allowance, etc. So again, it's the same in that respect. We did have a question sent in as well, just about is carers allowance a means tested benefit? So, and I'd spoken a wee bit to someone about that. There is an earnings limit as such. So if you're in work and employed, basically the sort of current threshold, it does change every year, every sort of April in the financial year, but the current threshold is if you're earning more than £139 a week, you wouldn't be eligible. So if you're earning under that, providing you meet all the other criteria, you would potentially be eligible. There are, I put in brackets there, after certain deductions. The £139 a week, how they calculate that is after certain deductions taken off for some pensions and stuff. So again, we would, when we do a benefit check with someone, we would check all their specific information about that. I've listed here, I know this looks a lot of information, but this is some of the new criteria for the carers support payment as opposed to carers allowance. So it's opening up for some students that would have been potentially unable to access the support before. One that's staying the same is if someone is age 16 and studying part-time, which is the class is under 21 hours a week, they'll be eligible. That is the same as carers allowance. The next two are some of the changes. So these groups, if you like, would have been excluded from carers allowance before, but now with the carer support payment, they won't be. Essentially, if you're aged 16 to 19, you're studying full-time in an advanced education, which is HNC courses or higher, then you might be now eligible. Or if you're aged 20 or over and you're studying full-time, again, 21 hours per week, doesn't matter the level of the course, they are also now eligible. There's a bit of a gap. You might have 16 to 19-year-olds studying full-time in non-advanced education, so perhaps lower than an HNC course. They're unfortunately still not eligible, but they can look at the Young Carers Grant, again through Social Security Scotland, which is a one-off payment rather than a series of the ongoing payment. As I say, I know that there's a lot of information with Citizens Advice, I should have mentioned at the start actually. We can arrange appointments for benefit checks. As I mentioned, that's probably one of the topics we cover the most that we see coming to us. The kind of information we'd need to get to sort of accurately do a benefit check is, you know, what's a person's income, what's their household situation, if appropriate, what's other people's income in the household, you know, where the housing situation, if they're renting, and if so, how much. So we can do that and gather all that information and do an accurate, tailored benefit check, rather than just saying this is a general criteria. We'd obviously want to make sure it was accurate to your specific circumstances. As I say, we can do those appointments over the phone, face to face. And similarly, we can also do a home visit or a video call even, if someone prefers that face-to-face aspect but can't come in, maybe a home visit wouldn't be suitable for them. We could look at doing a video call if someone felt that that would be useful for them as well. I'd mentioned to Claire as well, I was just going to go over a little bit of different support for energy right now, given the winter period, cost of living, and you might see in the news semi-regularly there's changes to price caps with energy. So usually at this time of the year we just like to try and give out a bit of further information. We are very aware as an organisation that people are quite savvy with their energy and bills, so it's not us telling you, you know, cut down on using certain appliances. That's not the purpose of this, because as I say, we know things are just quite tough at the moment with cost of living. People are mostly, you know, when we speak to people, doing everything they can in relation to trying to reduce energy costs anyway. This is just a bit more bit more information on some other schemes and grants that maybe people haven't heard of before, might be useful to go through. Starts off here, the reason we mentioned smart meters is just because you'll probably all been contacted by some point at your energy company asking if you'd like a smart meter. It is true that you don't have to accept a smart meter. You can keep your current type meters. There's some issues with that, as in you might not be able to access certain tariffs. So say your energy company has a cheaper tariff, which I know at the moment again is a bit of a myth due to the ongoing energy crisis. But previously, when suppliers offered cheaper tariffs, their criteria might be that you have to agree to a smart meter. So although you don't have to accept, people are unfortunately maybe going to be excluded from cheaper prices. So it's just something to watch out for if you're considering cheaper tariffs. What I would say, if you don't have a smart meter, if someone's able to, we would normally try and say if you can send meter readings at least every month. All different suppliers bill some bill monthly, some bill quarterly, but if you're able to and get to the meter safely, we'd recommend if you can do it monthly, because again, one of the most common things we see is people coming to us that have maybe had bills based on estimated readings for a year or even 6 months. A meter reading is given and they've got a big catch-up bill. That's quite common. So obviously, as I say, it's not suitable for everyone to always be able to read the meter, but if you can, we would try and suggest if you could even do it once a month or something along those lines, just to make sure that you're being billed as accurately as can be. And again, it just sort of mentions smart meters should ideally then put an end to estimated readings in a perfect world. Again, we see a lot of queries about smart meters that maybe aren't working. So in an ideal world, smart meters will eliminate, you ever getting an inaccurate bill, hopefully going forward. It mentions as well that smart meters should, on your little display, allow you to access some more information about your own personal usage. So when you're using it most, which should effectively give you an idea on if you're looking into your own energy efficiency on areas that you can cut down as well. So I mentioned I was going to go through various different some schemes, some grants that might be available over the winter. So don't know if everyone will be aware of all of these. There is a few different, some of them actually aren't all on here. There's another one I'm going to talk about, but this is just sort of a heading of the ones that I'll go through with you. So the first is the Priority Services Register. So this is a register that you can register with both your energy supplier, but also the energy, what they call like distributor, like network. For Dundee, our energy distributor is SSEN, and then you'll have your energy supplier separate to that. So the criteria is essentially if you've got some form of like disability, health condition, young children, partially sighted, if you have any issues with hearing, or if you're perhaps over age 60, you could register for the Priority Services Register. It's free. You can register, I believe if you register with the Energy Network, which is SSEN, they then inform your energy supplier. So I believe you only have to do it once. This is where there's a link at the bottom here that you can go on. It finds your energy network operator and then it takes you to their website to register. This is some of the options that if you do register that it gives you essentially. So say you're a homeowner, you might qualify for a free gas appliance safety check. I say homeowner because landlords should be doing that anyway. I know that can be an issue sometimes, but typically that would only be for homeowners because it's a landlord's responsibility to do that for their tenants. Another big one that can be really helpful, I mentioned before about people accessing their meters. Is it safe? Are they able to do that? If you register for the Priority Services Register, your energy company can look into, is it possible for them to relocate the meter to a safer location? You know, if it's up really high and someone can't get up there, can they put it somewhere more suitable? Different suppliers have different criteria for that, and some do still have a small charge, but it might be less than it would be if you weren't registered. So it's one of these things that if it became apparent you were needing a meter moved, contact the energy supplier to see what they can offer about that. And a couple of other things they can do are password protection schemes. Again, if someone can't get to their meter, they should be sending out a meter reader quarterly if you don't have a smart meter. Get advance notice of supply interruption. So if they're doing maintenance and there's going to be power cuts, someone should be notified, especially if you rely on your electricity. So medical equipment, if you've got medicine in the fridge, that sort of thing, it can be useful for that too. So I mentioned that there might be a couple of grants. I know it's hard to keep up with all of various different grants. You might see adverts on TV often. I think British Gas have an advert on the go every year about different grants. That's something that we can also help with during an energy appointment, because we appreciate there's lots of different grants. They all have different criteria. They're all wanting different things as evidence. So that's something we would help our clients with at an energy appointment. One of the big ones is, a lot of people perhaps don't know, but most energy suppliers do have some sort of funding to help with, say, someone in arrears. Again, criteria is very, very wide range, so no supplier has the exact same criteria. If everyone has access to the internet, you can Google your energy supplier and, type something like their supplier plus grant funding, or search their website, or even, again, if you're able to use the internet, ask on their online chat, because I know trying to get through to them on the phone sometimes to find out the information is tough. But as I say, if we had an energy appointment, we could also advise you about that if you weren't able to do it yourself. There is another scheme, which I might send Claire, actually, if that's okay. It's a link to send with the slides that's not been included in this. There's a grant called the Home Heating Support Fund, and it's a Scottish Government grant. And we're noticing we're getting really good results with that. It's not just for people who are in energy arrears, but it's for people, even if you're managing but you're struggling. It's becoming, harder and harder each month, and it's a very, very loose criteria that you need to be what's called rationing your energy. So essentially, if you've noticed the past few months that you're trying to use less energy than you were before because of the ongoing crisis, you might be eligible. You can apply yourself, or you can get one of the registered referral partners, which Citizens Advice are one, I think DIAP at the council are. There's various different organisations in Dundee. And you can apply, and the Home Heating Support Fund will advise if you are eligible, or if they can award you a grant. They need some evidence like your latest bill. So I'd mentioned before about providing up-to-date meter readings. They would need a bill that shows it is based on your actual meter readings. So again, that's something that we could look at in an energy appointment, or if someone felt able to do that themselves, they can easily apply online for it. There's no specific criteria for an upper income threshold. The website, if you look at it yourself, it's quite a loose criteria. As I say, there is a set that I think the main section they're looking at is the narrative section. So that's where we try and put in, the most information on why someone's struggling, how they're self-rationing, what they've had to do. But yeah, it's quite a loose criteria. So yeah, if someone says to us that they are struggling, they might not always get the award, but we'll put that forward for them. But yeah, so it is a good one at the moment. They seem to open and close it. There doesn't seem to be any sort of forewarning, so it's one of these that it's always just good to get in before the financial year ends in case that runs out. Another thing I just want to mention whilst we're on this slide is, especially during this cost of living crisis, it is actually in energy companies' licensing requirements that they have to consider an affordable payment arrangement for someone who is in arrears, and take into account your all financial circumstances. So I know from assisting people before, the energy companies, might just demand, right, we're going to up your direct debit by £100 to pay arrears. If you contact them, they legally should be taking into account your ability to pay, and negotiate an affordable repayment plan, even if that means it takes not just a few months to pay off any arrears, even if it takes years, they're supposed to take that into account. Again, we can always look at grants. If someone has fallen into arrears, we'd be able to look at that. And also, if someone doesn't feel confident in speaking to their energy company themselves, we could help them do that and help negotiate an affordable plan for them as well. This one, warm home discount, has been around for a good few years now, so I don't know if everyone will or won't be aware of it. But this year in Scotland, the warm home discount, it's £150 that gets credited to typically your electricity account. Some suppliers will allow you to split it between your gas, but as a default, I believe it's your electricity account. The criteria is, again, not fixed for every single supplier, but typically if you're in receipt of some form of benefit, and normally there's another caveat to that, if you get a benefit and there's maybe like a child under 5 in the property, or you get benefits but you also get a disability benefit, you might qualify for the warm home discount. The way it works is Ofgem, the energy sort of regulator, they distribute a criteria to the energy companies, and each energy company can pick their own criteria from the list of Ofgem give them. So what we would normally advise is contact your energy companies to apply. The easiest way to do it is online. Again, if someone wouldn't be able to do that, we can assist with that, or you can phone your energy company. But probably the easiest way, if someone is able to do it, is online. The only sort of difference for someone not having to apply is if anyone is in receipt of pension credit and they get what's called the guarantee element of it. They won't need to apply. That'll just be an automatic payment. But everyone else, if you're not getting that pension credit element, check with your energy supplier and apply online for that. This is some further assistance through, these payments are both through DWP and Social Security Scotland. So the winter fuel payment, again, that's been a payment for many, many years through the Department for Work and Pensions, the DWP, is for people over pensionable age, and depending on their individual circumstances, they might get between £250 to £600. You have to be over state pension age for that one. It's an automatic payment, or should be, so if you're over state pension age, you shouldn't have to do anything basically to receive that payment. That'll just, I believe that some of the payments might have been made already, so that one should have already started rolling out. The winter heating payment. So this has been taken over by Social Security Scotland, so the same organisation that now deal with the carers support payment. This replaced what was called the cold weather payment. I don't know if anybody ever received this. It was when it was the DWP, and it was quite hard to get the payment because it had to be below 0 degrees for I think 7 consecutive days or something ridiculous before you would receive a payment. That has now been scrapped for Scotland. Social Security Scotland have decided that they'll call it the winter heating payment, and it's just going to be a one-off payment of £55.05, again, providing you're in receipt of certain benefits. So if we were to do a benefit check, we're not just checking for one benefit, we're checking, for everyone's every single entitlement. And again, the link on there leads you to what all the individual criteria is for that. So that's a one-off payment that just goes into someone's bank account as well. The other one as well, which might be appropriate, especially for the carer centre, is the child winter heating payment. So this is if there is a child in the property that are getting certain disability benefits, so like child DLA, child disability payment. It's a one-off payment to help towards household costs for energy. The payment, the criteria again is on Social Security Scotland's website, or if we were doing a benefit check, we would run through that. It's a one-off payment of £235.70 as well. It also should be automatic. So if anybody notices, sometimes we'll get people come to us and say, I've had this payment, I'm not sure what it's for. That would be something to check as well. Okay. There is also an organisation called Home Energy Scotland. We now refer to them for a lot of inquiries we get about different energy grants for your home. So say you own your home, people might be looking, to improve their energy efficiency through insulation, upgrading windows, that sort of thing. Home Energy Scotland are funded by the Scottish Government to assess people's houses in that circumstance and see if they might be entitled to any free grants or any lower cost grants than maybe would be for someone not on receipt of certain benefits. There is some funding through this top one it mentions here, ECO. That is through energy companies directly. So it's one of these unknown, even when you try and check an energy company's website, sometimes they have very limited information on their own ECO scheme. Home Energy Scotland are the ones that are useful to contact because they can go through and arrange an appointment, as I say, for someone to get their house assessed to see, one, if there is any improvements that they could potentially make, and two, is there any funding that they might be eligible for to make that happen. I mention again, it's mainly for homeowners because with landlords, I mention again, it should be their responsibility. There is some exceptions to that. Just off the top of my head, if someone's got a broken heating system and the landlord agrees to it, but I would advise if you were a tenant and you were wanting to look at it, the best thing to do would be to call Home Energy Scotland and they could assess that for you on your individual circumstances. So it's mainly for homeowners, but if you're renting in the private sector, it's something that might be eligible for. I say private sector because if you're housing association or a council, that is excluded, unfortunately. That has to be through that provider. I mentioned at the start I wasn't going to go through lots of different energy efficiency advice because, as I say, most people are being savvy, but there is information. Again, Home Energy Scotland can offer more tailored advice. I mean, you probably you see adverts, you can reduce your washing machine temperature, that sort of thing, switching things off standby. And there's information on our public site, and also Home Energy Scotland can offer that sort of further energy efficiency advice. Again, some people might not know this, but energy suppliers are obliged to offer you help. So if you're on the phone to your energy company for any reason, you can ask them, can you send out more information on energy efficiency? And a lot of the time, as I say, they've got their eco schemes where they can maybe offer free insulation, that sort of thing. As I say, trying to Google that sometimes and get information from their website, it can be a bit of a hidden where it is, but again, they'd be obliged to sort of look into that for you. We spoke about if someone's maybe not entitled, say some energy grants are means tested and then perhaps not eligible. Home Energy Scotland can also look into the interest-free loans as well. Not that you'd be obliged to obviously take one, people can look at their own loans as well, but they can offer, look into various different interest-free loans, specifically for energy efficiency would be the link there. And then lastly on this sort of section, I've spoken about it a lot, but if anybody wanted an appointment, either do a benefit check, energy check, or even any other advice that I looked at the topics at the start, whether it's housing, employment, get in touch with us. We have specific energy advisors, so they're specifically trained and funded to help with energy inquiries. That can be anything from just doing, looking at ways to save you money. Helping with energy supplier complaints is quite a big one we get a lot of the time. Really anything related to gas and electric energy aspect they can assist with. And arrears as well, if anybody's struggling with gas and electric arrears. If anybody would want to book in a private appointment, I would advise, again, which when I go to the next page, it's got our number, but just to contact our triage team. As I say, you can either phone or you can go on our website and submit an inquiry, and it'll email us, and we'll get back to you by email. And then that is just the information there. Again, if anyone wants to take it down, but we will send the presentation as well. Perfect.
Thank you very much, Dawn.
Perfect. No problem. Thank you for having